Hello, hackers! My name's Kevin Montgomery. I'm an events manager here at Chainlink Labs on the marketing team. I'd like to welcome each of you here for our hacker stories. We're super excited to have you here with us. Today, we're going to dive into why Web3 founders should be submitting a project to the Chainlink Hackathon. And with me today is none other than co-founders and CEO of Krypton Protocol, Michael Nowotny. Now,
Hey
Krypton's
everyone.
been founded during the 2021 Fall Hackathon. And they've since gone on to raise over $7 million in funding following their hacker submission. They're here to share more about how the Chainlink Hackathon unlocks new opportunities for him as a Web3 founder. And from with that, I'll let him take it away.
Hey guys, Kevin, thank you so much for having us here. So basically our story, the story of Krypton, starts with Chainlink, right? So we had this wonderful idea, I think, of making trading fair for people to be able to trade in decentralized systems, but getting actually a price that makes sense, right? So we invented Krypton. Now, one of the problems is that in traditional ecosystems, in blockchains, there just is not as much computational capacity as would be needed. So we needed a scaling solution. We found Chainlink. Now, in 2021, we went around to VC firms, to ask them for investment, and they didn't give us any money. Some VC firms came close. They told us, "Oh, what a wonderful idea! It's going to solve the problem. It's going to solve the problem of high cost in trading." But there are already so many decentralized exchanges out there. I believe you can pull it off, Michael, but why don't you show us that anyone cares? So essentially, Nathan and I, we were out of moves. And our last move was, we have to win a hackathon. Since we're already using Chainlink, why not just win the Chainlink hackathon? So essentially, for 5 weeks, we implemented a prototype, the most bare bones thing that would work. And then Chainlink discovered us, basically gave us a prize in the DeFi category, and the rest is history.
So, Michael, I think just if I can jump in, one of the kind of key parts of the story is the novel way in which Krypton uses Chainlink. Can you talk a little bit about that and what your kind of expectation was for where Krypton might go in terms of Chainlink's eyes, and then what actually happened?
Oh yeah, so essentially, if you look at like existing DeFi, like legacy DeFi or so, of course, it's wonderful. It's a 0 to 1 innovation. It kind of works, but it's just extraordinarily costly because it opens all kinds of doors for toxic traders, for predatory traders, for front runners, sandwich attacks, adverse selection, all kinds of things. And so what we did with Krypton was to design an economic mechanism that has never been used before, but that would very nicely solve these issues. Now, the problem with that is, yeah, sure, it's the most cost-effective exchange that has ever existed. TradFi, DeFi, CeFi. But it is so computationally demanding that no blockchain today could do it. There is no other scaling solution. It's only Chainlink. And so what most people think about when they look at Chainlink is they think data feeds, price feeds, or something like that. What we realized is that Chainlink had already built in a mechanism to extend its functionality. It's called an external adapter. So in fact, the first thing I did when I realized Chainlink existed in late 2020, I thought, is there a plugin mechanism? So sure, Chainlink secures massive amounts of value in leading DeFi protocols. Can you somehow leverage that security to do computation? And so what Chainlink very wisely did in 2019, I think, is they realized that not every type of data that a smart contract needs is available one-for-one in any Web2 system. There may need to be some data transformation. And for that, they built in this plugin mechanism, this external adapter, where a smart contract developer can write an off-chain component to be run on the Chainlink Oracle network that grabs some data, say a time series of returns from any Web2 system, and then computes some statistical moment, maybe the standard deviation or some skewness or some kurtosis, and places that as the response of this Oracle call, and it then gets transferred by the network to the blockchain, and the smart contract can use it. And so we realized that if this is fully programmable, if this is so Turing complete, so to speak, then we can do whatever we want there, and we can use it to scale computations that otherwise would not be possible on a blockchain. So that's the way we're kind of using Chainlink to enable Krypton. In order to do that, we had to come up with a new way of using Chainlink. It's a little bit complicated. It's an interaction between keepers, external adapters, the blockchain itself, of course, the Oracle contract, and we call it Krypton Compute. We also use IPFS for certain things. And this is one of the wonderful things I think about Chainlink, is that it allows you to mix and match all kinds of other decentralized ecosystems once you pay the cost to go outside of a blockchain to an Oracle network. And so if you think about it, is maybe the early days of, say, blockchains, it was extraordinarily limited. So it gave us things like AMMs, where you would compute a very simple formula like x times y equals k, and it kind of sort of would work, but it we see it has all these kinds of problems. It's very, very costly. And so if you kind of liken that maybe to the early days of computing or the early days of video games, right? So maybe Ethereum as a blockchain is like an 8-bit system, right? So it gives you the Nintendo Entertainment System. You can play Super Mario, some kind of character moves around. And then 2021, I think, was a story of, early scaling solutions, other more scalable blockchains like Solana, and maybe, with whatever, 1,000 transactions per second or, 5,000 transactions per second or something like that, it would move us into the 16-bit era. So think like Super Nintendo or something like that, right? And so what Chainlink essentially does is, instead of using thousands upon thousands of nodes, it uses maybe 50 nodes, maybe 100 nodes. So it's 1 order, 2 orders of magnitude less computationally intensive than a single centralized system. But of course, these nodes are massively secured, and they will be much more secured when Economics 2.0 goes live, when proof of stake goes live in a few months. So what this Chainlink allows us to do is that we basically have the computational power that you had maybe 10, 15 years ago, when computers were maybe 50 times less powerful than they are today. But 15 years ago, we could do many, many cool things that we could not do in the 80s or the 90s. So one way of looking at Chainlink is that it gives us the future today, right? You basically jump ahead from a world that is just entering the 16-bit era to the 64-bit era. So this is fundamentally what enables Krypton. So Chainlink does give us superpowers, but you need to know how to use it. And that's what we kind of figured out during the hackathon. Now, Krypton is 2 things, right? So on the one hand, it's a new way of trading. And that, is based on economics. And on the other hand, it's a new way to develop decentralized applications, or a new way to run decentralized applications on top of an Oracle network, on top of Chainlink's Oracle network. Both of these things were needed to make Krypton possible. And so initially, what we were wondering is, if we now submit our project to the hackathon, will the judges at this Chainlink hackathon understand the economic idea? Will they think, oh my God, this goes above my head. These people are crazy. What weird way are they doing now? And there's lots of weird stuff in blockchains. Maybe they will just, ignore it. And then Nathan said, wait, Michael, there's also this, I'm always the skeptical guy, I guess, in this thing. Try to think things through and try to find reasons why it might not work. I guess to some extent you have to be your own worst enemy. But then Krypton, Nathan is kind of the positive guy. And he said, Michael, look, there is a services award. There's a prize in the category where you can win if you just do something good for Chainlink, if you do something good for the ecosystem, if you demonstrate how Chainlink could be used in a novel way. And so even if they don't understand our financial idea and they don't want to dig deeply enough into it, then they're going to give us a prize in the services category. So that kind of checks the box. We want a Chainlink hackathon. We can go back to the VC and say, hey, look, guys, now we have validation. Someone cares about it. Someone likes this. But actually, to my surprise, and this is something I found with Chainlink essentially since the beginning, to my surprise, Patrick Collins and Keenan Olsen, they found this. They found Krypton, and they went through the source code. They saw, okay, there's something that is very different than what has been done before. Let's make sure it makes sense. And so they did. And then over the week following this hackathon, I got emails from Chainlink trying to attack Krypton. If some toxic trader did this or did that, wouldn't they be able to kind of fool the system? Would it still work? And I addressed their concerns. I said, no, this won't work because of this and because of that. And that after some time, they developed enough confidence that this is probably reasonable, that this will solve the problem, and they gave us a prize, right? And so the experience here is that Chainlink will give you the light of day. If you have something genuinely new, you can trust that Chainlink is committed to understanding what you're doing. They will dig in like nothing else, right? So they very quickly see if something is just, something run-of-the-mill that has been done before, but then they are able to detect if there's something that's new. And what strikes me about people at Chainlink is every single person we talk to is an A player. Every single person there goes above and beyond. It is probably very, very difficult to get a job at Chainlink Labs, right? So I'm not sure if I would get a job there. But those guys do what it takes. So you have to do your part. We had to do our part. We had to develop something that works. We had to develop something that is novel. We had to develop something that is performant and robust. And they have been doing their part in giving us a fair shake. And so this is, I think, the contract that kind of you have with Chainlink. And so since winning at that hackathon, Chainlink has been doing all kinds of other good things to us. They have connected us to new VCs, and they have invested. I think without Chainlink, that wouldn't have been possible. So if you have an idea, if your goal is to bring something out into the world, I think there's probably no better way than doing this at a Chainlink hackathon. Now you have to do your part, right? So you have to push yourself. So you have to think about, okay, what can I really do? What's really novel? What problem hasn't been solved yet? It doesn't have to be, you don't have to, like Rome wasn't built in a day, right? So you don't have to do this all at once. If you clearly define, that's what's already there, that's what I'm adding, and submit it, then that's always better than not submitting it. Because if you don't submit it, if you quit, then you can't win. Now, some people say that there are only two ways of not winning. It's either to quit or second, to never start. So you just have to do this. And you have to trust yourself, and you can trust Chainlink. Okay, so this is going to be worth your while. And look, even if you don't win any prize, you can show this to people. And you will make new friends, and you will learn new things. If you at some point you have to come out kind of your comfort zone, right? So there will always be trolls that, say this is not good or that is not good. That's just the way the world is. If you are happy at the end of the day with what you have done and it's honest work, then the other honest people, the people that you want to associate with, they will find it and they will see it. So in my opinion, there is no downside to pushing yourself at a Chainlink hackathon. And when I think back about that time, I did a lot of things in my life. I used to be a finance professor. I wrote a dissertation. I worked in the asset management industry. But I think I've never been as productive in my life as doing those 5 weeks at the Chainlink hackathon. And I'm very, very proud of it. A lot of good stuff was developed there. Stuff that my team, that's not much bigger, is still using as a basis to go on. And you can do the same thing. Okay, just commit yourself, just do it, and you're going to be fine.
Absolutely. I'd like to second that really quickly. And I'd also like to add in that the nature of the hackathon is you start out with an idea. You start out with a team. And the wonderful thing about the Chainlink hackathon is it's just long enough to give you the opportunity to actually develop that. So this is not like it's over and done within a day. No, you have a full 5 weeks, but it's also not so long that you drop it halfway through because it's, the end is so far in the future. No, this is wonderfully well defined. And the nature of it is you will be quite surprised that the closer you get to the end, the more and more productive you get, because the more and more your idea coalesces, the more and more working code you have. And all of a sudden you get to the very end and you say, wait, there's 1 day left and we have to finish this thing. We have to get it through. We have to push it over the line. And you'd be amazed at what that incentive does to you. And you actually do get it across the line. You get the final commit in, you bring up your full system, and you actually have demonstrated working code that you put together over these last 5 weeks. And it's this wonderful feeling that you realize, wait, I was able to dig in and actually accomplish something and do something meaningful and do something which is actually, this was not trivial. This was actually something of substance. So I would really encourage not just to join the thing, but to stick through it to the end, because I think you you will genuinely surprise yourself once you get towards the end, and once you realize what it takes to get it done, and you realize the fact you have that within you to do it.
Can I just get you guys? So, obviously the winning in the DeFi category was it's a very important milestone in the Krypton origin story. Can you talk a little bit about what was unlocked after that in terms of fundraising, partnerships, and so on?
Nathan, you want to take this one?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, as Kevin mentioned earlier, one of the wonderful things is that all of a sudden all these doors open. One of the ideas that comes out of economics is this idea of signaling, and what are you signaling to who, and do you have a costly signal, do you have a cheap signal, which signal should you pay attention to? And this is one of the wonderful things about actually winning in a Chainlink hackathon, because now you receive, Chainlink has effectively blessed your project, and all of a sudden it says, yes, you are a legitimate developer, you have substance, and that you are worthwhile dealing with. You should be taken seriously. So that's the sort of signaling that it's trying to give out to the rest of the world. And as a result, when you go and you talk to a lot of the VCs saying, hey, we have this idea, we have this working proof of concept, we won the Chainlink hackathon in this category, then all of a sudden you are taken seriously because you have this very serious signal behind you. So you could also consider this as like a quality metric or a quality measure that all of a sudden you are worthwhile dealing with. And I really want to emphasize that Michael referred to this earlier, that when we were talking with VCs prior to the hackathon, absolutely, we had multiple who said, wow, this really is an interesting idea, but they were reserved. They did not want to pull the trigger. They said, well, we'll talk about this with our investment committee, and we'll get back to you. And of course, they would come back a few weeks later and say, thank you, it's a great idea. Please keep in touch. Don't go away angry, but do go away. And that shifted. All of a sudden, we were able to say, oh, wait a minute, we really did win this. Here's the working prototype. Let me give you a demo. And then all of a sudden, let's go talk to the investment committee, and they would come back, okay, here's what we're willing to do. Here's the terms we're willing to invest on. So there's just no question that this was a fantastic help.
Yeah. Can I just add to that? So one of the other things I think that, Michael, you've talked a lot about, you actually entered the Spring 21 hackathon as well, and then just ended up consuming a lot of resources. But, another thing that people often mention is just access to other projects, job opportunities, the educational opportunities available, right? So I think there's a lot of that. And I know we've met a lot of really amazing people simply as a result of you being in the, I didn't join you guys for that, but I can also attest to the incredible impact it has on fundraising, that like Chainlink halo. Even just participating, getting to know the people in the community is a really big deal.
Yeah, absolutely. That's absolutely right. So when I found Web3, I thought now all of a sudden I can help re-architect the financial system. I can now do these things that develop the things that I always thought should exist, and I don't need anyone's permission. Like, no one can stop me. I can invent whatever I want, and my users can use it. And so I needed to find out, how does it actually work technically, right? And so I started then in early 2021. I took this Crypto Zombies course about Solidity. I didn't know Solidity. The last time I actually used JavaScript was probably in 1996 or so, so I didn't know much about that. But it's super simple to get started, of course, and Crypto Zombies is awesome. And then I needed to understand, how do I actually run a Chainlink node, right? I understood how an Oracle worked because there was a segment on Crypto Zombies. And so what I basically did is I had kind of a different idea for this Spring 2021 hackathon. I entered, paid my Ether, I think, entrance admission fee. And then I simply spent all these weeks to just consume videos and workshops and stuff. And I learned Rust and, looked at Solana. But the most valuable thing was these Patrick Collins videos, right? So where he shows you, like he showed you in 2 videos, this is how we're going to set up a Chainlink node. Now we run our own node. I had already set up, my own Ethereum node a few weeks prior. And then the second video of, for the Chainlink node was, now let's write an external adapter. And so that was kind of, I would say, maybe the catalyst that got me going. And that allowed me to do all these wonderful things. And so now, because I spent all the time learning and thinking about things, I never programmed anything, never submitted anything, but it was still extraordinarily valuable. And see how there's these many different ways that Chainlink hackathons can help. And then I really understood that if I wanted to do something that matters, that kind of, then I probably need to think about this more carefully if it should matter from an economic perspective. So I needed all these months to think about what I actually wanted to do. And what I referred to earlier as this, Krypton compute, our system, our novel way of using Chainlink, that hadn't fully formed yet when I did the first hackathon. It basically planted the seeds in my mind to, start thinking about this subconsciously. And so then on the second hackathon, I actually did not participate in any workshops. I knew what I wanted to do, I knew what I wanted to program. I had, of course, set up all my the development environment. So we are on Python set up, Brownie and PyCharm and all these kind of things, and the Dockerization of this wonderful environment. One resource that was enormously helpful was actually the Discord server. There was, for the hackathon, there is a lot of support, but there was this one external adapter channel. So external adapters seem to be something that's maybe considered to be obscure and maybe a little bit more complicated. Yeah, sure, it is. And so even though I had worked with those, I had kind of checked out some repository put together by Thomas Hodges, who's one of the, I think, the Chainlink OGs. And I had questions, because we wanted to use it in a much more expansive way than people had used it before. So there was a guy in the external adapter forum, and he could always respond at night because during the day he said he worked at Chainlink and he needed to get OCR 2.0 done. So he was always working on OCR 2.0, but at night, you can try this, you can try that. And so I learned a lot of things about that. And eventually, what I did learn is all these things that I integrated into my environment, into my my Docker environment that I used to develop Krypton. I took that, I factored it out, and I created a tutorial on my GitHub repository for people to use to get started with external adapters and Chainlink. And I call this the hybrid smart contract kit. I said, hey guys, here it is. Please use it. If you like to contribute examples, please do it. And so there are really things that, ways that you can help the Chainlink community, everyone, move forward. If you think about it, I think Steve Jobs once said that the world was built by people who are, fundamentally kind of no better, no smarter than us. So if you think that something should exist that doesn't exist, maybe you just build it and then everyone can use it. And the nature of open source software is just that the cost to replicate it is just zero. You do it and then everyone can use it for free. And you are using their free stuff, right? Everything we're using is free stuff, Chainlink and Python, Solidity and the Ethereum blockchain and everything. So you could—
Well said, Michael. That's a great point. And in fact, you had hinted on something. So I wanted to ask Nate here, and Michael, feel free to jump in too. Talk to me some about the other opportunities, like to submitting jobs. You have different sponsor projects or previous winners, including maybe Krypton, Trueflation. I know there's a lot of community effort within hackathon builders within itself, but also the community at large. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'd be very happy to. I really want to emphasize that Chainlink community really does mean community. So you have people who will now all of a sudden take your call, that you have people you can reach out to and contact. So if you have an idea and you need someone to bounce that idea off of, it's so wonderful to be able to have someone who is an expert in their field, who is themselves competent, that you can go pitch this idea to. And look, there's only a couple possibilities. Either it's a fantastic idea, you now get validation as to why it's a fantastic idea and you know to pursue it. Or even better, you learn from somebody competent, oh, I understand where you're going with this, but this is a bad idea because of the following set of reasons. And then you can update your idea to take advantage of that, compensate for that, and come back and pitch again. So the value of community isn't just, you know somebody, it's that you know somebody who's good, you know somebody who's competent, and that you know someone who's good who will talk to you and help you get better. So I think there's a tremendous amount for that. If you want to talk about some of the other Chainlink, certainly Build with Chainlink projects, a lot of these guys are just absolutely, utterly spectacular. And as we've been able to not just network with them, but all of a sudden we start showing up on panels with them. We start showing up in interviews with them. And that especially as we go out to conferences, this is a chance to not just make friends, but again, to go back to the earlier comment about signaling is, okay, you're up on a stage with somebody. What are you trying to signal to the audience? And you say, oh yeah, I'm with someone who's good. I'm with someone who's competent. And that everybody now knows I get to hang out with people who are good, with people who are competent. I think there's tremendous, tremendous value there.
That's well said. And,
you're muted,
Anna,
Anna, sorry. Usually you're still muted. This is usually what I do.
Anna, you muted.
Maybe
someone muted. Okay.
I'm really smart. I just wanted to add to that. One of the things that we've talked about a lot internally is how do I say this nicely, like wanting to poach people from other projects. You encounter so many cool people at the hackathons and just in general, like at the Chainlink conferences and other meetups and other events that, we've had several discussions like, oh, I wonder if we can hire them sometime in the future. Like these people are really smart. And, especially people who are doing stuff like hackathons are, it takes a lot of effort, right? Like I wasn't there earlier. I wasn't there, but I heard the stories. There was very little sleeping, and there was a lot of late nights and talking and stress, and that's just like people who are really excited about doing cool stuff together. Those are the kind of people that you want to work with. And I think I know that I can speak for Krypton. I don't know if I can speak for every company in the whole world, but I think those are generally the kind of people that you want to work on your own cool stuff with in the future, and who you want to bring onto your team and have as part of your team. So I think if that's something that someone has a goal to, use this as a stepping stone in their own personal development, or whether it's with their own project or with another project in the future, it's a really, really great way to get access to people who have that same energy, enthusiasm, intelligence, and just focus on bringing really cool shit into the world, if you will.
It's a really beautiful point, Anna. And just to follow up on that, some of the best hackathon projects that we do see are actually full teams. You can be a designer, a marketer, completely just in the weeds coding. Like really, it's the full team and the synergy that really brings it together. That's a very beautiful point, Anna. Awesome.
Do you guys should we talk a little bit about the build program? Because I think that was another really cool thing that sort of opened up, or that's available to, people who are in the hackathons.
Absolutely, please.
I'll jump in on that if you don't mind, because our experience with Build has been absolutely spectacular. And I guess maybe I should bring up the following point, that a lot of, there's no shortage of accelerator programs out there. There's no shortage of programs which are trying to get you to work with them or through them. And one of the really wonderful things about the Build program is the continual support that we've been getting for literally the last year. So it's not like a accelerator. Great, you're part of the accelerator program for 2 months, you graduate, you're done, and never hear from them again. This really is very much the case, where consistently and constantly new ideas are bubbling up. There's always new companies to meet, new people to meet, new introductions to be made. And yeah, you can look at this through a self-interested lens of, well, I'm just here for business development, I just need the contacts. And sure, if that's the extent of your imagination, you can get that through Build. But all you have to do is open up your mind just a little bit, and you realize that you're not just simple business development. You're actually getting, how do I get product improvement? Who is it that I can talk to who's an expert in their field, who can give me good advice as to what I'm trying to do? And equivalently, and maybe even better, you have people coming out of the woodwork. Hey, I have this idea. What do you think about that? So you get, it's not just a one-way street is what I'm trying to say. It really is a conversation. It really is the involvement in a full community. And I really want to emphasize that. So it's not you're out by yourself. This really is a meeting of the minds of a large number of people. And so you realize very quickly how this advances you, how you advance others, how it helps you, how you help others. And you realize, wait, this isn't just me. I'm not walking out on a limb here. I really do have the support of this broader group of people. And it's all orchestrated ultimately via the Chainlink Build program. So I have a lot of positive things to say.
100%. And I think a large takeaway here is that the community effort is so strong. Just submit something. Something's better than nothing, right? And ultimately, you're going to forge these friendships and at least maybe an even idea to carry on into the next endeavor or the next hackathon. But at any point where you are right now, it is at least something to get across the finish line. That's amazing.
Yeah. Well worth it.
Awesome. Anything else to add on to the build, or as far as like community within hackathons and getting projects submitted across the line?
Oh, one of the things I really liked about the, speaking of community, one of the things I really liked about the hackathon was how easy it was to take advantage of the social media around it, and how easy it was to be able to reach out to people. So for instance, while we were halfway through the project, we had a couple other projects reach out, and it was just these wonderful conversations. We were able to talk about, hey, what's going on with this? And they actually would come up and say, hey, wait, I get that you're an expert in the finance field. So we're working on this problem involving a particular blockchain, and we want an outside opinion as what we're doing the right approach. And so we were able to go back and say that, well, if you modify this, you modify that, you say, well, the current approach isn't really going to get you what you think it's going to do for the following reasons, but if you tweak it, all of a sudden it turns into a reasonable idea. And so it was this really, really wonderful opportunity to actually meet with other builders, with other founders, and to really start pushing this and to realize that, wait, I can have an actual impact, not just in my own stuff, but also with the stuff that other people are doing, so I can help shape the world, right? The best, as they say, the best way to predict the future is to build it. And this is one of the really, really wonderful things about hackathons in general and Build specifically.
Michael, do you
Amazing
have any
point. Sorry, yeah, go ahead, Michael.
Did you have anything else you wanted to add to that? Because I just wanted to kind of close with a quick note.
Yeah, Anna, why don't you just close? It's fine. I think we're going to open it up for questions if people like to ask questions.
Yeah, and obviously, if anyone's kind of watching this and you don't have, you didn't get a chance or you don't want to ask a question on the actual stream, just reach out to us on Twitter or at Krypton Protocol. We love meeting new people and talking to new people, so don't be shy. And yeah, good luck. We're really we're excited to be here. We're excited that you guys all are here, and good luck with the rest of the builds.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Anna. Just like a quick wrap up real quick, I wanted to just make some quick announcements. We do have SmartCon coming up in Barcelona. It is October 2nd and 3rd. We do have discounted tickets going on right now. Please be sure to head over to smartcon.chain.link. Also, as a quick reminder, we have 10 days, 8 hours, 10 minutes, and 49 seconds to submit those projects over to our hackathon submission. There's going to be tons of opportunities for you guys to get loads of swag, prizes, tons of stuff to be given away. So please feel free to get this projects across the line. Other than that, I'm really excited to have each of you guys, and I can't wait to see what come out of this huge success of a hackathon. I feel like every year we have some kind of crazy invention. So really excited. Oh, yes. Yes. So Evan Pyro is going to be there. He's going to be people at Chainlink. We could talk right now just to kind of give a little bit more evolution on what's interested and what's happening in the Chainlink pipeline. Jordan Kuhl will be Professor Krypton. He'll be the Krypton team appearing in this year's SmartCon. Daniel Malloy is going to be focusing on the remix versus UI. Yes.
So these are all audience questions. I'm very, very happy to take those on here. So Kevin, you may be the better one to talk about who at Chainlink is available to be spoken with right away.
But we can quickly confirm. Oh, Kevin, you're muted.
Oh, sorry. I was reading the questions like it was off of my prompter. Apologies. So there's Chainlink people that could talk to you right now. Yeah, basically we would talk to like developer advocates, Harry and the team. They all have office hours on Discord. You can always climb into our Discord chat and ping one of them. In the hackathon selection, there's a couple different slots to where you could actually go and ask those questions directly to them, or obviously DM. But yeah, if you're needing any kind of assistance, Harry would best be able to help you out. Let's see.
I can answer the SmartCon question. Yes, Krypton will be at SmartCon. Cannot confirm any further details beyond that, but you can definitely find us there. And if I can secure an appropriate life-size porcupine costume, Professor Krypton will also be there.
For the record, really thank you for that particular shout out for Professor Krypton. I often you put out content and you wonder what's the response. Is people actually like it or not? And I personally adore Professor Krypton. I think that's I'm so happy this is one of the things we get to actually do. It's one of the fun parts of the job.
Yeah.
Is it okay to use Remix UI for projects? Do we have to make any other interfaces?
It's a solid question. You know, a lot of these implementation details, I would say that it really comes best down to where you feel that your biggest advantage is. One of the problems with a hackathon is that you're very limited on time. So for instance, we wound up implementing our UI first in Vue, and then I went through and found basically the equivalent of a material UI package for it called Quasar, and wound up implementing that and did that. Was very, very happy to do so because it was very efficient and we were able to get the implementation done in a surprisingly short amount of time. So we didn't have to spend a huge amount of time on the UI. We were able to spend most of the development time on the back end and making sure that everything was doing what it was supposed to do. So I would say figure out what works best for you and pursue that. What lets you be most productive as fast as possible.
Yeah, so I would say it depends on really where you're at in the development journey. If you want to do anything serious, I would certainly not use Remix. I would just use a framework like Hardhat or Brownie. It's really not that difficult. But there is lots of heterogeneity, I think, in the participants of this hackathon, right? And so it depends on where you are at and where you want to be, right? So what you get out of it. And some people are developers who have been developing for 10 years, for 20 years, and others maybe are just jumping into development or did some, maybe lightweight UI development or something like that. I think the wonderful thing about blockchain, about Ethereum, about Chainlink, about this developing Web3 ecosystems is that the tech stack is kind of so small that it is relatively easy to penetrate it all, right? So even if today you're a new developer, there are ways to get started and there are ways to get better. My recommendation would be, if you want to do anything serious, look at serious blockchain development frameworks, right? If you think JavaScript and TypeScript, that's for you. Look at Hardhat. I think that's the thing. If you like Brownie, if you like Python, use Brownie, or there's a new one, ApeWorks or something like that. Patrick Collins wrote an article on that. And just hit us up, on our Krypton channel if you need recommendations. I know that Nathan likes to develop in a very different way than I like to develop. So Nathan is more the command line guy and, text editor guy. And I like to use IDEs and all kinds of graphical tools to achieve what I want to build. Another thing is look into Docker. If you already are an experienced software engineer, of course you will be using Docker. So there's kind of lots of ways to learn. But I think Kevin probably answered that. It seems like no matter what you do, as long as it works for your hackathon submission, they will look at it and they will give you a fair shake. That was my experience.
Honestly, yeah. And just any kind of advice for someone, maybe a beginner, or if they're, can actually do for this hackathon, any kind of advice to close out on?
I think there's just a tremendous amount. The key, and this goes back to something Michael was talking about earlier, the key is to actually start, actually do something. And that the only way to fail is to really not try or to abandon it halfway through. It's just, you got to get to the finish line. So you do have to have enough drive and enough passion in what you're doing that you say, I'm willing to take the overhead hit. I'm willing to meet the deadline. I'm willing to get something in, because something is a hell of a lot better than nothing. In terms of where do the ideas come from? And this is the wonderful thing about a general platform like Chainlink, is now all of a sudden you have this tremendous, tremendous choice, maybe a little too much choice. Mm-hmm. And so this is why the benefit of actually going and meeting teammates, of meeting other people in the hackathon. So maybe you don't have the idea, but I'll bet you one of those guys does. So what do you got to do? Well, that means you actually have to get out there and go talk to somebody and take advantage of the social media tools. Take advantage of the Telegram and Discord and just post out, hey, I'm looking for a team who's got a great idea. This is the kind of stuff I can do. This is the kind of stuff I'm interested in. And then you can narrow it down from there. So you don't have to be the idea person if that's not you. Or maybe that is you. And what you're really looking for is, hey, I have this wonderful idea, but now I need someone to help me to finish the implementation. And that's great. Once again, hop on Discord, say, hey, here's my idea. I'm looking for the following kind of people. What can we make happen? So a lot of this then is just communication and realizing that there are people out there to complement you and who will help expand your horizons and help you accomplish what you actually want to do, or whether that's your idea or whether that's somebody else's.
Solid advice. Awesome. Thank you so much, Krypton team. You guys have been an absolute pleasure to have with us today. Share your insights. Give us the scoop on how you can become successful in this. Lastly, I just wanted to give a huge shout out and thank you to all of our sponsors and past projects to make each of these hackathons a huge success and just continually gets bigger and bigger. I can't wait to see where this community is going. I can't wait to see where Krypton Labs is going. A huge shout out for you guys being here with us today. I appreciate your time. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having us.
Thank you, everyone.
Yes. With that, everyone, have a beautiful day. Take care.
Bye.